The Ark of the Covenant, mentioned more than 200 times, it is one of the most significant pieces of furniture in the Bible. The Ark of the Covenant stored the Ten Commandments, the laws given to Moses by God on the top of Mount Sinai. It is important to note that at this time the Ten Commandments consisted of 2 new tablets, after being broken by Moses when he saw his people worshiping other gods, as explained in Exodus chapter 32, verse 19. When Moses approached the camp, and he saw the calf and the dancing, his anger burned, and he threw the tablets out of his hands, breaking them into pieces at the foot of the mountain. Along with the 10 Commandments, the ark also stored a pot of manna and Aaron's budded rod. Manna was the food miraculously sent to the Israelites during their journey through the desert. Exodus chapter 16, verse 18, described it as such. The house of Israel named it manna, and it was like coriander seed, white, and its taste was like wafers with honey. Aaron's rod was stored in the ark because it was the sign of a miracle. Aaron was to gather 12 rods, one from each of the 12 tribes of Israel. He was to write the name on the rod from the person he collected it from. God said that whichever of the rods budded, that person would have an authoritative power over Israel. Not only did Aaron's rod bud, it produced flowers and ripe almonds. To preserve this rod, God said to put it in the Ark of the Covenant. Not only did the Ark of the Covenant hold significant items, but it was also a visible sign of God's presence and protection. The Israelites followed the Ark of the Covenant as they followed God. The Ark of the Covenant protected the people during battles, as well as the 10 Commandments. God protected his people through hard and difficult times. God gave exact descriptions to the Israelites as to how the Ark of the Covenant should look. They shall make an ark of acacia wood. 2 cubits and a half shall be its length, a cubit and a half its breadth, and a cubit and a half its height. You shall overlay it with pure gold, inside and outside shall you overlay it, and you shall make it on a molding of gold around it. You shall cast 4 rings of gold for it, and put them on its 4 feet, 2 rings on the one side of it, and 2 rings on the other side of it. You shall make poles of acacia wood, and overlay them with gold. And you shall put the poles into the rings on the sides of the ark, to carry the ark by them. The poles shall remain in the ring of the ark, they shall not be taken from it, and you shall put into the ark the testimony that I shall give you. You shall make a mercy seat of pure gold. 2.5 cubits shall be its length, and a cubit and a half its breadth. And you shall make 2 cherubim of gold, of hammered work shall you make them, on the 2 ends of the mercy seat. Make 1 cherub on the one end, and 1 cherub on the other end. Of one piece with the mercy seat shall you make the cherubim on its 2 ends. The cherubims shall spread out their wings above, overshadowing the mercy seat with their wings, their faces one to another. Toward the mercy seat shall the faces of the cherubim be, and you shall put the mercy seat on top of the ark, and in the ark you shall put the testimony that I shall give you. There I will meet with you, and from above the mercy seat, from between the 2 cherubim that are on the ark of the testimony, I will speak with you about all that I will give you in commandment for the people of Israel. The ark was built on Mount Sinai by Bezalel. It traveled with the Israelites many places, such as the Jordan River and Jericho. One of the many miracles that occurred with the Ark of the Covenant was the separating of the Jordan River. The Lord told Joshua after Moses had died that the Israelites were to cross the Jordan River into the land in which God had promised them, Canaan. The Israelites gathered their belongings, and 3 days later they departed from Shittim and traveled to the Jordan River. When they arrived, they camped there for 3 days. On the 3rd day the officers traveled throughout the camp, giving orders to the people. When you see the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord your God, and the priests who are Levites carrying it, you are to move out from your positions and follow it. Then you will know which way to go, since you have never been this way before. But keep a distance of about 1,000 yards between you and the ark. Do not go near it. Joshua told the people to cleanse themselves, for the next day great events were to take place. The Lord then told Joshua that the priests were to go stand in the Jordan River with the Ark of the Covenant. When they did, the water would come to a halt and gather in heaps around the Israelites, walking across safely. After crossing, God called to Joshua and told him to choose one person from each tribe of Israel to go into the Jordan and collect a rock from the river, which they would carry with them, and place them at the area that they camped that night. Joshua had said that these stones are to serve as a memorial to the people of Israel forever. When the Lord ordered the priests carrying the Ark of the Covenant to come up out of the Jordan River, the priests obeyed, and as soon as they set foot out of the water, the heaps of water came crashing down, and the river was back to normal. The crossing of the Jordan River was not the only important history of the Ark of the Covenant. After crossing the Jordan, the Israelites traveled to Jericho. While there, they trekked with the Ark of the Covenant around the walls of Jericho every day for 7 days, blowing ram's horns as they went. On the 7th day, with the blowing of a horn and a shout, the walls of Jericho fell, and the Israelites captured it. The next major event with the Ark of the Covenant happened with the battle against the Philistines, as explained in 1 Samuel chapter 4. Now the Israelites went out to fight against the Philistines. The Israelites camped at Ebenezer and the Philistines at Aphek. The Philistines deployed their forces to meet Israel, and as the battle spread, Israel was defeated by the Philistines, who killed about 4,000 of them on the battlefield. When the soldiers returned to camp, the elders of Israel asked, "Why did the Lord bring defeat on us today before the Philistines? Let us bring the ark of the Lord's covenant from Shiloh, so that he may go with us and save us from the hands of our enemies." So the people sent men to Shiloh, and they brought back the ark of the covenant of the Lord Almighty, who is enthroned between the cherubim, and Eli's 2 sons, Hophni and Phinehas, were there with the ark of the covenant of God. When the ark of the Lord's covenant came into the camp, all Israel raised such a great shout that the ground shook. Hearing the uproar, the Philistines asked, "What's all this shouting in the Hebrew camp?" When they learned that the ark of the Lord had come into the camp, the Philistines were afraid. "A god has come into the camp," they said. "Oh no! Nothing like this has happened before. We're doomed! Who will deliver us from the hand of these mighty gods? They are gods who struck the Egyptians with all kinds of plagues in the wilderness. Be strong, Philistines. Be men, or you will be subject to the Hebrews as they have been to you. Be men and fight." So the Philistines fought, and the Israelites were defeated, and every man fled to his tent. The slaughter was very great. Israel lost 30,000 foot soldiers. The ark of God was captured, and Eli's 2 sons, Hophni and Phinehas, died. While in the Philistines' power, many plagues struck them, such as hemorrhoids and rats. The cherubim atop the covenant also broke during the time the Philistines had it in their possession. The Philistines would move from place to place, hoping the plagues would not occur to them in different places. However, the plagues never stopped. As a result, the Philistines sent the ark back to the Israelites, where it stayed. The Ark of the Covenant is a magical creation from biblical times. It housed some of the most important articles of this time period, and it served as a place of mercy and shelter for the Israelites.
Is what has won me. The blood is what has bought me. Now I belong to you. I belong to you, Lord. I belong to you. I belong to you. been found by you. I will be held by you, safe in your arms, wrapped in your love. The grave no longer holds me. The sun is shining over me. Now I belong to you. I belong to you, Lord. I belong to you. And I belong to you. And nothing can take me away. Nothing can separate me from your love. And I have been found by you. I will be held by you, safe in your arms, wrapped in your love. Wider, deeper